All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are here on Wednesday, April 24th. We are 27 hours and change away from the NFL draft. Best time of the year for football fans. This year, Viking fans, because you're probably not going to draft a corner just like every year for the past so many, no one looks forward to that. We get to look forward to quarterback talk and whatnot. So we are just a day away from one of probably, I'd say, the biggest days in franchise history, potentially. And it's exciting to have this happen. So with that said, simple notes, we're going to do a stream again tomorrow. We've said that on last week's episode, maybe the one before that too. There will be a stream tomorrow starting around Central Time, 6:30 approximately. Sam Z has a mock draft he's going to go through before the draft starts. Hopefully, as long as everything works out, at least that's the plan. And then we'll do a live reaction. Maybe we'll do our final predictions of the draft beforehand. We'll just have to see. So everybody should tune into that because it'll be an awesome time, fun time of just hanging out, watching the draft, talking football, and doing what we do here. So with that said, this is our final episode, but not really before the draft because we will kind of tomorrow. Either way, we're going to start. We got a few different things we're going to get through today. We're going to talk about quarterbacks, obviously, in a little bit. Matt's going to be joining a little bit. He is a studious boy, so he had class. I don't know, though, because he was also in class, and he commented these on the stream. So I don't know. I don't know how studious he actually is, but hey, whatever. So he'll be on in a few minutes, hopefully, and he can talk some football with us, too. With that said, our first thing we're going to talk about is we've been waiting an extension for Justin Jefferson. And no, this is not live breaking news. Justin Jefferson deal hasn't happened, but a different deal happened today. And that's Amon-Ra St. Brown of the Detroit Lions. So the Detroit Lions and Amon-Ra they reached a combined agreed and reached.
You made a new word, folks.
I mean, someday we'll have to make a compilation of just like stutters
and bloopers. Oh my
god, and just dumb things that have been said.
Like a whole episode in itself, I swear.
Half of it's just probably Big Lou.
Oh,
Big Lou stutters.
100%.
Things he didn't mean to say. So the Lions have reached a deal with Amon-Ra St. Brown. It was a 4-year, $120 million deal. If you divide it out, it's $30 million a year, I believe. I forget what the Tyreek year by year is. So I don't know if it tops Tyreek Hill or not. I'll look in a minute. He got $77 million guaranteed, which I know that is the most by a wide receiver in NFL history. Now you might wonder, how does Justin Jefferson play into this? Well, he does. The price is going to keep going up and up. That's why it's going to be important for them to do it before Jamar Chase. But right now it's the Spider-Man meme. Everyone is, and CeeDee Lamb is in here too. They're all just pointing at each other. Someone's going to have to budge eventually. And this is kind of the first piece to follow, first piece in the puzzle, I guess. What year was Amon-Ra St. Brown drafted? Was he 2020 with Justin and?
No, he was 2021.
Okay,
because he wasn't 2022.
Okay, I said that wrong. Wrong. CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson were in 2020. Jamar Chase was in 2021, and they're all eligible. But it's just interesting to see what year these guys were. So we're gonna take a peek here. He was in 2021. He was a 4th-round pick by the Lions. So, yeah. So we're gonna look up the Tyreek Hill one, see if it's the highest average annual value.
I know it's 120 million over like 4 years, I think. So I don't know what the AAV would be on that. But
it says Tyreek Hill's is 4 years, 120. So it looks like it's the same between the two. But I know more guaranteed money with the St. Brown deal. So I guess it's just kind of a waiting game at this point. Obviously, it's going to be after the draft unless the Vikings make a blockbuster announcement within the next 24 and a couple hours, 27 hours here. That would be quite a wild thing. Right before the draft, we just find that out. That'd be pretty awesome. But
but
I mean, it's so dumb. But I get we get why they're doing it. They're trying to make as much money as possible, but it's a dumb game because now they're all just going to sit there and not do anything. Because whoever is going to be next, whether it's CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, they're going to top 30. So it's just gonna keep going up and up. So
I think Jefferson's going to get over 35 easily. I think he could even reach up to 40. I feel like usually with these things, they have a number agreed on. I think the Vikings have probably had a number agreed on with Jefferson. It's just there's so much little things that go into contracts and all that stuff. And it sounds like there are rumors that inside TCO and all that stuff that there has been they're either super close or they have reached a deal and it hasn't been announced yet. So obviously the Vikings have their hands full with a pretty big event that's happening tomorrow, but I would not be surprised to see a Jefferson extension within the next month.
Yeah. And I was going to say, I don't know if you've seen this at all, but the Vikings, per report, they were super close to getting an extension done right before last season started, like the day before, the week before, whatnot.
Yeah.
And they weren't able to do it. And now it's tough because that's going to drive the price up when you don't do that, because a lot of players and agents, when the season starts, they just say, all right, we're going to put it on the back burner until March, April, whenever, and before we revisit it. But yeah, really, it's just Jefferson and Jamar Chase are probably going to be the two butting heads, because CeeDee Lamb, I don't think he's quite good enough to get that, like, the number one highest paid. At the time, he might be, but he'll get topped by one of those two guys. So really, it's just between those two, but it's just a waiting game at this point, and it's dumb, but they're trying to get their money, and I understand. If I was them, I would do the same thing, so don't really blame them at the same time. So that's that. Now, I guess, as we look around, obviously the draft is tomorrow. Lots of things have been swirling around, lots of fun stuff. Caleb Williams, pretty locked into the number one. It would be shocking if he wasn't the number one pick for the Chicago Bears.
It's a lock at this point. It has to be.
I mean, there's always a chance between like now and tomorrow that we already see report that he's confirmed. I remember like the Baker Mayfield year that happened, like the day before, there was already reports that like they've submitted the card without submitting the card.
Yeah, and the Bears are still going to take all 15 minutes just to, I don't know, mess with us or something. But they're still going to take all 15 minutes to select him. But it's gonna be pretty clear. Like, it's pretty clear, unless we see Caleb Williams in a gas mask or something, then maybe he'll fall. But who knows?
I think that I think teams do that 15 minutes for a couple of reasons. One is the NFL wants them to do it because it gets people to tune into the TV.
Yep.
Like, if they aren't sitting on their couch right at 7:03 p.m. or for us Central Time people or whatever, they don't want to make that pick right away. So that's why they purposely, I think, wait it out, is so that people get time to like turn the TV on and be ready. Also, just to draw suspense and stuff, even though everyone knows what's about to happen. And that's how it's been for a while. I mean, if it's a quarterback taking number one overall, everyone knows what's coming. If it's a different position, sometimes that's when it gets a little more interesting. I'm trying to remember the year when it was Trayvon Walker.
That was 2022.
I'm trying to remember if it was like known before that he would be the number one pick or not really.
I think it was. Because, well, it wasn't like a lock, but I remember like all the reports like right before the draft were saying they were taking Trayvon over Aiden Hutchinson. So
yeah,
I remember seeing that, and that was kind of like out of the blue, and it was kind of random, but it ended up being the case.
I don't remember this for sure because this was kind of a while ago now for a young football mind like mine. But when I believe Myles Garrett was the number one pick, wasn't he?
He was a lock. I remember him being like a lock. Like everyone knew they were going to take Myles Garrett.
I'm trying to think who else was like number one that wasn't a quarterback in fairly recent years, I guess.
I think those are the only two. Because last year was Bryce Young. That was a lock. Year before that was Trayvon. Year before that was...
I'm trying to go back.
Oh, it was
Joe
the year...
Burrow. It was Burrow, wasn't it?
No,
or was Burrow the year before?
It was...
Burrow might have been 2020.
I know Zach Wilson went number 2. Who went number 1? Was it Trevor Lawrence? I think it was Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
So it was Trevor, because that draft, it was like the draft kind of started at 3 because we knew the Jets were taking Zach Wilson and the Jags were taking Trevor Lawrence. So, yeah.
Then it was Burrow before that. Then it would have been 2019.
Kyler Murray.
Oh, yeah. Right. Then before that,
Myles Garrett.
Wow.
That was Baker Mayfield. That was the Baker Mayfield year.
Oh, yeah.
2018. And then 2017 was Myles Garrett.
Then
2016, Goff.
You just remember everything.
15. I don't remember 15. That's the last one.
We're going to look that one up and then we'll move on.
Yeah. It's
Jameis
pick
Winston. I was about to say that, but I didn't want to sound dumb. But I was going to say
Jameis Winston.
I couldn't remember if he was before that or if he was 2015. So that was that. Otherwise, so like we were talking about earlier, Caleb Williams seems pretty locked into that one spot. The 2 spot Commanders, I've seen that they're not going to trade. Obviously, you don't know what to believe, but that I would believe that the Commanders are probably going to stick right there. And more than likely, it'll be Jaden Daniels, whether he likes it or not. Maybe he's putting on this act. He's probably going to like it anyway. He's going to have to. So Jaden Daniels, very likely to be the Commanders. Then after that is when we get fun. So 3, we've seen the New England Patriots are open for business, but we've also seen that they don't have offers that blow them away. That's where it gets interesting. Are they going to – I think you have to move, though, unless they go Marvin Harrison Jr., which I don't think is going to happen, but they have no team. They have no team.
See, it's weird. I was watching, so I'm not a big mock draft guy, but we're going to see my mock draft in a little bit. I make one mock draft a year, and I watch like 1 or 2 mock drafts of the people that I watch that I just like absolutely love. And like, because that's what I was thinking, right? With the Patriots, it's like you don't have a team. Why don't you try to trade up with like the Vikings and get 2 first-round picks and grab 2 guys? But they made a great point on this podcast in the fact that the Patriots had a lot of injuries this year, especially on defense. And without injuries, that's a really good defense. And the problem with that is now if the Patriots defense is healthy all year, they're probably, and their offense is at least half serviceable. There's a chance they win 7-8 games, which would leave them with like a pick around the Vikings. And then it'd be tough because then they'd have to move up for a quarterback next year. I still think they should trade back, but that is a reason to where it's like if Drake May's there, Jaden Daniels, they could take him.
Yeah, I pulled up a depth chart for the Patriots. Their defense, you're right, when healthy, they've got some pretty decent names on there.
Mm-hmm.
Their offense, non-existent, pretty much.
Because if you remember week 1, that defense played great and they almost beat Philadelphia and everyone's like, whoa. And then they won like 6 games.
Yeah. I think it's kind of a problem when your wide receivers are Kendrick Bourne, Demario Douglas, and KJ Osborne.
Yes. This team is still at least 2 years away from being like getting back to contention. But
if I was the Patriots, I would trade this pick for the 2 firsts if you could. And if you could finagle next year's first out of someone, that'd be even better. Take a receiver in another position the first round this year. Do kind of like, and then you might be able to put yourself in a position kind of like the Vikings are right now. It's not the exact same, but from a team perspective, you kind of have your team built. You just need a quarterback to take you there.
Just
the Patriots
building.
could do that if they play their cards right, but we'll just have to see.
Yeah, and we could also see, like, if Jaden Daniels is there at 3 and the Commanders shock everyone and take Drake May. I mean, I think Jaden Daniels is a guy who's ready to go right away, so they could say, hey, we just want to grab our guy now and hope by year 3 or 4 we're contending before we have to pay him that big contract if he's good.
Mm-hmm. And then 4 is always an interesting spot because we got the Cardinals there.
Mm-hmm.
They're also pretty bad, but they seem attached to Kyler Murray, so they're not going to quarterback. They could trade, or they could stick and take Marvin Harrison Jr. Obviously, assuming he's not on the board at this point. I could see him doing either of them. Patriots, I could see trading more likely than not. I could see him doing both, but I would see more likely than not trading. Cardinals, I could honestly see a 50-50 split with what they do. They could do either of them, and it would make sense.
Yeah.
They're interesting. Then at 5, we got the Chargers. Do you think, as a Michigan fan, as a Jim Harbaugh guy, do you think there's a chance that they could actually go for JJ McCarthy and send Justin Herbert away to pair him with Harbaugh again?
There's a 0% chance of that happening for multiple reasons. A, you don't just trade a stud quarterback in his 20s who just signed a massive deal. B, the trade would get vetoed because they would have to eat $120 million in cap space, so they would have to cut multiple guys. So it just wouldn't make sense. And while Herbert to the Vikings or something would be super fun, I don't think that's that would happen. And I think if Jim Harbaugh really wanted to reunite with JJ McCarthy, he could have went to like the Commanders or something who need a quarterback and taken him at 2 or something. So I know Jim Harbaugh loves JJ and he's praised him and all this, but I think Jim's like ready to work with Justin Herbert, and we're going to see what they do. They could, who knows, they could grab Marvin if he's there and the Cardinals trade down, or they could grab a tackle like Joe Alt at 5. So that's one of the more interesting picks, but I don't think Herbert goes. I would be genuinely shocked for those 2 reasons.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. I'd also be surprised if the Chargers traded that pick.
Yeah, and it's just
it makes sense, but it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work when you factor the contract, all of that kind of stuff in. It just
wouldn't. Yeah,
doesn't work out.
Yeah.
But the idea is fun, I guess.
It would be really fun, and I understand why people like initially before you look at the contract, people would think that that's like that'd be a good idea for the Vikings, and it would be if his contract situation was not like that.
Yeah. So for anyone wondering, I'm kind of going in draft order, just leading up to the Vikings, in case you're kind of wondering where I was going with this, to see what teams are going to take quarterbacks, who's going to trade. At 6, we've got the New York Giants. I've been seeing today and yesterday things saying that they like Michael Penix and that they could take Penix at 6. Do I believe that? No. Could they? It's the Giants. So you really never know at this point, but they could be a team that the Vikings would have to watch out for moving up, but also they don't have a team as good as the Vikings that would be, and they don't have, I'd say, I guess I don't know their capital quite as well, like their draft capital.
But yeah,
it's pretty fair, I think, to say that the Vikings have the best both opportunity for a quarterback, but they also just have the best assets and capital to be able to trade up.
So what I've seen with the Giants is I've seen some people say they could possibly be looking to move up to 4 to get JJ McCarthy. And I think that is actually kind of a possibility at this point. I'm not going to say it's like certain, or like, I think the Vikings are more likely to make the move, but for the Giants, it would probably only cost them pick 6 and like a 3rd round pick. If you look at like the draft charts or whatever, I think it might be, well, it'd probably end up being a little more than that, like another day 3 pick. But I think that's the most likely scenario for the Giants to go quarterback. If I'm the Giants, I would not go quarterback. I would give Daniel Jones 1 more year and reassess things after next season. But we'll see. I think JJ McCarthy would thrive in what the Giants do. It's a little similar. It's kind of similar to what Michigan does, and he would be able to sit for a year, which I think would be really beneficial for him.
So I don't know completely the Daniel Jones contract off the top of my head, but if I remember, it's just a dumb contract. Is it easy for them to get out of? Like, whereas like we talked about the Justin Herbert one, you can't get out of that. That is just, it's really not possible.
Without looking at it, I would think it'd be a tough situation, but we just saw the Broncos get rid of Russell Wilson and eat all that. So, never say never unless it is Justin Herbert, because that contract is literally impossible to get out of. But I think with Daniel Jones, no matter, even if they do draft JJ McCarthy, I think he'll be around for at least 1 more year. And then I don't know what his cap number or his dead cap looks like next year. I haven't done that much research into the Giants. So
I'm currently attempting to pull it up right now. I've got it on Over the Cap here.
Okay.
And Daniel Jones this upcoming season, this 24, he currently has a cap number of $47.8 million. Which is absurd. I clapped when the Giants gave him that contract just because of how dumb it was. It felt like a Kirk Cousins, except Daniel Jones is worse. It just felt like a reincarnation of that. And maybe I've said on here before, I literally think Daniel Jones is just the reincarnation of Kirk Cousins. He's just the younger Kirk Cousins right here.
It's an interesting comparison. There's things that Daniel Jones does that do kind of resemble Kirk, but I think he's a little more mobile. But when it comes to like what you're talking about, I think, yeah, you can kind of see that.
Unfortunately, our boy Matt will not be on today. Unknown where he is or what he's doing, but he said he won't be on today. So it's just going to be us. But that is okay because we're going to do fantastic. So looking at this contract, his cap number next year is $42 million. He's got a dead cap of 22 million. They would save about 20 if they got rid of him. And then in 26, he has a cap number of 50, just under $59 million as of right now. Obviously, that's maneuverable, I guess. He has $11 million of dead money. They would save $47 million. So unlike Justin Herbert, it is possible to get out of his contract with not that much damage done. So it would work. They wouldn't find a trade partner. Who would trade for Daniel Jones? It's less about the picks and more about the contract. Who would trade for Daniel Jones?
They probably have to cut him.
So, yeah, interesting. Here's their picks that the Giants have. They have the 6th pick. They have the 47th pick coming from Seattle. I'm trying to refresh my memory. What would that be? Where would that come from? From Seattle and the Giants.
Did they?
Could that have something to do with the Leonard Williams?
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, I might have. Or I thought Leonard Williams was a free agent. Hold on.
That's what I thought too, but this is the only player I would
trade up.
Think of that would have.
Yeah, it was Leonard Williams. They traded him.
Okay. So they have the 47th pick coming from Seattle. They don't have their own 2nd round picks. That's their only. They have the 70th pick in the 3rd round, and then so they have 3 picks in the top 100. So they have some capital if they were to move up, but then they wouldn't have much capital after that point, we'll say. So it's possible. Definitely could see the Giants moving up. At 7th overall, we have the Tennessee Titans. They seem like, they've been weird because they've been taking they took Malik Willis, that blew up, never worked out. Then they took Kenny Pickett. Wasn't that Will Levis, not Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett was the Steelers. What am I thinking? They took Will Levis. Wasn't that the year after? They took.
That was 2 years because Pickett was 21 and Levis was last year.
Okay. No, that wasn't last year. Oh, wait, maybe it was.
Levis was, yeah. He was a rookie.
Oh, yeah, that was last year. I was thinking about the Kenny Pickett year when he was the only quarterback in the 1st round. And so Titans probably won't draft a quarterback. Also, Matt says, screw JJ McCarthy. He wanted that message to be relayed. Maybe we'll get some words from him tomorrow night if the Vikings draft JJ McCarthy. Or if they don't, maybe we'll also get some words from him. So Titans at 7. At 8 is the Falcons. They've got Kirk Cousins, former Vikings legend, also former not Vikings legend at the same time. How about that whole tampering thing, though? People can cry about it and whatnot. Vikings fans can cry, but the Vikings were never going to get picks out of it, probably.
No.
It was going to only be the Falcons. It was going to be forfeited picks. So
it was going to be forfeited, or the whole pick swap thing, it would have been like a 4th or 5th round pick. So it's not, they're not going to get pick 8. That was never going to happen.
So yeah, that was that. It's funny though that Vikings fans thought that maybe the league would actually do something about it, but everyone and their mother knew that Kirk Cousins was not coming back to the Vikings. Everyone knew he was going to sign as a Falcon on Monday, March 13th. Everyone knew it was happening, and now everyone's still crying. Oh, they stole him away. No, they didn't. We know what was coming. So at number 9 is the Bears. They're not going to take a quarterback at that pick because they're going to have Caleb Williams on their roster by the time it rolls up. At 10 is the Jets. They've got Aaron Rodgers at his almost 40-year-old self. So no quarterback there. How old is Aaron Rodgers? He's probably getting up there.
39.
Oh, he is 40.
Yeah, I was going to say
he was born on December 2nd, 1983. He is 40 years old. Aaron Rodgers. At the 10th pick, that's what we just talked about, was the Jets, and then it's the Vikings. Following the Vikings, we have the Broncos, who just made a legendary trade for Zach Wilson the other day. Groundbreaking NFL news. I saw a bunch of Broncos fans Yeah, a bunch of Broncos fans were saying if he's going to get traded here, he's at least got to wear the jersey number 3 so our Russell Wilson jerseys can be
I just
relevant
saw that.
again.
That was great.
That was the same thing. I remember when Patrick Peterson signed with the Vikings. I remember fans saying Patrick Peterson should take 28 so our old AP jerseys can be relevant finally again.
Till his numbers retired. Then he took 7. I actually liked the 7. I liked the way he looked. It was super good.
I can't believe that Randy Moss's number hasn't been retired by the Vikings. What's like the whole thing with that? Because the Wilfs don't have like a problem with him. Whereas like with the Wolves, it's like Kevin Garnett, his jersey hasn't been retired, but that's because him and Glenn Taylor are kind of in a battle with each other.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why. But as to my knowledge, there's no beef between the Wilfs and
I don't know.
Well, Adrian Peterson, but also Randy Moss. So not sure what the holdup is on that. He's going to get inducted into the Ring of Honor before his jersey number is retired. Actually, wait, that would make sense. That was a dumb statement. Of course, there's more players in the Ring of Honor than jerseys retired. That was a dumb statement. But I think Randy Moss is definitely in the Ring of Honor. Okay, let's all just move on from that horrible take I was trying to get at there. That was bad. So the Raiders are also trying to move up. They have an okay team. They showed promise with Antonio Pierce, but that was also a small sample size, so it's hard to know how close they actually are to being competitive. I could see them trying to move up, but I don't know what their capital is, so we're going to see if the Raiders have decent selection. They currently have 8 picks. We're looking right now. They've got the 13th pick. They've got the 44th pick in the second round. So mid to late second round. No, that's mid second round. They've got the 77th pick. And so they've pretty much got the exact same capital as the Giants do. Except the Giants obviously have the 6th and the Raiders have the 13th, which is a substantial difference. But as far as pick wise, it's actually not that much difference. So we'll see. We'll have probably, I don't know, maybe we'll say Raiders, Broncos, Vikings. Who else could be in the mix? I gotta go.
Raiders, Broncos, Vikings, Giants could possibly move up.
So we're gonna have like 4 teams pretty much trying to trade for 1 or 2 spots. Everyone else is gonna have to settle for Bo Nix or Michael Penix. So.
Or like Michael Pratt or Spencer Rattler. Like
Joe Milton.
No.
Yeah, we'll just have to obviously see how that goes. And yeah, that's that. I have something else random that just popped in my head. Obviously, the Vikings brought in Sam Darnold to be their quarterback, at least for now. As of right now, they have Jaron Hall still. If the Vikings couldn't get a quarterback this year, I would not be opposed to not throwing him out there 17 games, but seeing some more Jaron Hall. It didn't work well last year, but I mean, I don't see why not at this point. I mean, he's not gonna bring your team anywhere because if they draft a quarterback, he's gonna get put on the back burner, and by that means he's probably gonna get cut. Or he's gonna request to be cut because why would you stay here and wouldn't you just rather have another team at least give you maybe a chance? Because the Vikings won't. So
yeah,
he would force his way out. It's funny saying that, thinking about the fact he's a 5th round pick. A 5th round pick forces his way out.
Or they cut Nick Mullins and roll Jaron Hall as QB3. That could happen too. I
get it. I'd rather just get rid of Jaron Hall at that point. Now, I've been an anti-Nick Mullins person, but at least you know what you're getting out of Nick Mullins. Mm-hmm. So he's got experience, and I think that's the thing that matters. That's the thing that separates those two. Yeah. Isn't how good they are, but it's that Nick Mullins has experience and he's played in games. Jared Hall doesn't have much experience and he hasn't played many games.
But I also don't think Nick Mullins would want to be QB3 on this team, which would probably be the case. Unless you say that like you don't want JJ McCarthy to see the field at all this year and you're just rolling with Sam Darnold and Nick Mullins, and then if they both go down, then you throw him in. And you just say he's going to be the emergency third QB. He's going to sit in practice and just learn. But outside of that, I think he'd be a QB2 somewhere else, and
Yeah, that's a good point
who
there.
knows? And then Jaron Hall would stick around and be QB3. Maybe you sneak him on the practice squad. Who knows?
That's a good point there. So that's that. We've seen that the Vikings are making calls and trying to get up, but we'll just have to see if it happens. Of course, it's going to be a fun 27 hours and 13 minutes from now when it hits 7 o'clock tomorrow. So going to be really interesting to see if they trade up, if they stick and take a guy like Bo Nix or Penix at 11, maybe even they might be there at 23. That'd be a bit more of a gamble, but it's possible that one or both would be there. Probably just one, but you never know. So we'll see. With that said, I think we can start getting into the mock draft probably now then. And so, yeah, so here we go. We're going to send it to this. This is the spreadsheet, folks. And we have a mock draft. Mr. Sam here has made a mock draft. Sam Z made a mock draft, and then it was out of date. So he's going to make a new one. I think we said that we're going to try and unveil tomorrow before the draft. So this is the Sam O official mock, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
32 picks. Yeah. I was hoping Matt would be on so he could break some down because he's kind of a college football fan, and I'm not as much of, but you are. So you can take it away. I'll say anything if there's anything to say.
Yeah.
And yeah, let's.
You actually want to reveal them for me?
Yeah.
Then I can just sit on here. So, just a PSA. I do pretty much one every year, and I never include trades in them, but I included one trade for obvious reasons.
Mock drafts are just so hard because it's like if you don't predict a trade, it's obsolete by default.
Exactly.
But you just can't project trades because you have no idea what's going to happen. So it's just
obviously there's going to be more than one trade tomorrow night. There'll probably be 3 or 4. But for my sake, I don't enjoy trying to figure out all the trades and all the picks and stuff. So don't usually do a trade, but I'm doing one this year for reasons. All right, you can go ahead and reveal pick one, I think.
All right, let's do it. First pick overall, is it going to be Caleb? Is it not going to be Caleb? Oh, it's
Caleb Williams.
Caleb Williams. First overall to the Bears.
No brainer. Not much to say about that one. That's a lock.
At number 2, is it going to be Jaden Daniels? Is it going to be a surprise pick elsewhere? It is going to be Jaden Daniels.
I think he's locked in. I don't think he's locked in, but I think it's pretty close, barring them saying, barring them just shockingly picking Drake May. And again, this is what I think will happen, not necessarily what I want to happen. I think the Commanders should take Drake May, but it's going to be helpful for the Vikings if they don't. So, yeah, because they're not going to move out of 2. So number 3.
Number 3 overall. Hold on. I'm going to change. There we go. Samo official mock draft. You're scrolling on the bottom of the screen now. Okay. Now we're back to here. Number 3. Is it going to be Drake May? Is it going to be JJ McCarthy? Forgot his name for a minute. Patriots do not trade, and they select Drake May.
So, right now, as of right now, it sounds like the Patriots are pretty put. I'm not going to say now this obviously could change because obviously it's draft. We know what's smokescreen, what's real. I think if you're the Vikings and Drake May is there at 3, you have to make them turn down at least 3 first-round picks for Drake May because that is my favorite quarterback in the draft. That's not Caleb Williams because he's going to go number 1. But that is my dream scenario at quarterback, and I think the Vikings should have to make them turn down a very, very good offer before they are content with not getting him.
This is what I'll say. I feel like if it was up to Kevin O'Connell, and it is up to Kevin O'Connell, well, how do I say this in a way that makes sense? Because I'm about to contradict myself with what I'm going to say. Kevin O'Connell, to me, I feel like they'd go Drake May if they had to pick out of all of them. I feel like Kevin O'Connell is kind of a JJ McCarthy fan. No, obviously I know nothing, but that's just what I feel like I would think. Kwesi feels like a Drake May kind of a guy. Or I should say Drake May feels like a Kwesi kind of a guy.
Yeah.
Drake May was at one point, he was talked about as honestly being potentially the number 1 pick a couple years back. And he was pretty clear in a way the number 2 pick for a while. And Jaden Daniels was never even close to that conversation, nor was JJ McCarthy until really this year too. And as we've talked about, Kwesi just loves those guys that way high up there, former first round pick for current players, obviously.
Yeah.
And then they just never reach their full potential.
Yeah.
That's what Drake May feels like. That's why.
And this is what, that's
like
exactly what the reports, everything I've seen today, which obviously could be fake, could be real, are saying that the Vikings are going after Drake May. So
I feel like they'd go after
I think the Patriots are going to draft Drake May, and I think if I was the Patriots, I would trade down and get draft capital, but I'm not the Patriots, and I think this is what they're going to do.
I think that if the Vikings traded up to 3 and they had the opportunity at Drake May and JJ McCarthy, if you ask me right now, I think they'd take Drake May.
Oh, 100%. I'd take Drake May over McCarthy, and I'm a Michigan fan, so I would be completely fine with that. But I think the Patriots stick and pick here and turn down an offer for 3 first-round picks from the Vikings. I think that's going to come out after.
That would be quite the rejection there.
Yeah, it would be.
4th overall, do we have 4 quarterbacks in the first 4 picks? Well, we've got the Cardinals sticking, and they are going, obviously not quarterbacks, it's the Cardinals. Marvin Harrison Jr., top prospect.
There has been a lot of smoke about the Cardinals trading down. And when you look at their wide receiver 1 is currently Rondale Moore. That's not doing Kyler any favors, and they're going to go out and grab one of the best wide receiver prospects I've seen in a while. So I think that's ultimately what the Cardinals are going to do, and just stick and pick, grab Marvin. They're probably going to get some trade-up offers, but ultimately they don't take them.
I'm actually going to contradict something I said earlier. Earlier, I think I said the Cardinals to me are kind of 50-50 with what they do. I think I said that. I'm going to change my stance. If your picks are all quarterbacks, which I think is probably going to happen, you never know, but more than likely at this point, that's what's going to happen. Now that I think about it that way, I think the Cardinals are more likely than not to trade because of the drop between those top 4 quarterbacks and Nix and Penix. There's going to be a team that's going to want to get that 4th one and not that they'd be stuck with the other 2 guys, but they would want to be the one to get that 4th quarterback.
Yeah.
So I think there will be multiple offers on the phone for the Cardinals. And even if they move back, say it was the Giants, if they move back 2 spots, there's still a chance that Marvin Harrison Jr. would be there. Obviously, now you have the Chargers picking before you, which is potentially a problem. But I think now that I think about it that way, I think personally there's a more likely than not chance the Cardinals would trade back.
Oh, yeah. And I'm not,
the first 3 were quarterbacks. I think it's going to be a 4 quarterback top 4.
I don't disagree with you at all. I think there's a very good chance the Cardinals trade down, but it's just, are we content with trading down to 6 or 11 and possibly, if you trade down 11, definitely losing Marvin Harrison and grabbing a couple extra picks, which they might be. I mean, who knows? They could end up falling and taking Malik Neighbors, who is an awesome prospect too.
So now we've got a team on the phone. Oh, the phone's ringing. Oh, they're calling for the Chargers. Who is it? We have got a trade. Is it going to be for the 4th quarterback? Probably. Hey, you never know. Sam O says,
boom!
The Minnesota Vikings trade up with the Chargers.
So this is my one trade. I think the Vikings are going to trade up, and I think it's either to 3, 4, or 5. Ultimately, like I said, the Patriots, what I think they're going to do is stick and pick, take Drake May or Jaden Daniels if he falls to 3. And that's going to leave the Vikings with JJ McCarthy, who I still think is a solid option for this team. And again, I think JJ is a guy where if he goes to a bad situation, he'll probably be a bust. However, the Vikings have a very good situation for JJ McCarthy, and the Vikings move up and get their guy. Now, he's not going to start right away, but I see the potential in him. I've watched this guy for 5 years. I watched his high school highlights. I've watched all that stuff. So I trust him a lot. I think he's a great guy. He'd be a future team captain, all that stuff. So that's what I ultimately think the Vikings will do. That's not what I want them to do. I'm going to make that clear right now. Like I've said, I think if it was up to me, I'd have the Vikings give 3 first-round picks to the Patriots. But they end up giving up pick 11, 23, and a 2025 third round pick to move up with the Chargers.
I would do that trade in a heartbeat right there. Also, this is kind of a random comment too, but it has to do with JJ McCarthy, and you'll see why in a moment. So there's someone in one of my classes here. He wrestles at the school I go to here, and I was talking to him one day. He's a football fan. He's actually a Bills fan, but I was just talking to him about the draft and stuff. This was a few weeks back, and we were talking about the quarterbacks, and we were talking about JJ McCarthy. I said, "Do you think he's going to pan out in the NFL?" And he said yes. And then he said he actually played against JJ McCarthy when he was in high school.
Really?
Yeah, he said
is he from Illinois or did he?
He said it was in Illinois. He said he went to high school in Illinois, and he said he played JJ McCarthy once, and he said absolutely just shredded his team's defense.
Oh, I bet.
And he said after that game, he was like, I knew he was like, this guy's gonna be something, and he could make it. And no, yeah. So I guess that story doesn't have that much relevance, but
oh, that's cool though.
I figured I'd mention it. So there's a guy in one of my classes I know who played against JJ McCarthy in high school and said he was really good. So
yeah. No, yeah, there was a clip of him in high school surfacing where he ran across the field, juked 2 defenders, and ran for a touchdown. So I don't know if that was against his school, probably not, but it's just like all these guys, man, especially the first round picks are just insane in high school. It's funny to watch.
If this top 4 plays out like this, that would be perfect for the Vikings.
Yes.
And here's why. The number 5 pick is held by the Chargers. And like we talked about, outside of the Giants, they're the one exception to this. The other 2 teams calling on the phone are going to be the Raiders and the Broncos, both division rivals of the Chargers, who aren't going to want to trade with them. So if that top 4 played out like that, it might not. But if it played out just like that, that would be the perfect situation for the Vikings. So we'll just have to see. At number 6 overall, I would, if the Vikings made this trade for those 2 and a third round pick next year, I will stand up and clap that they were able to get one of those top 4 quarterbacks in at 5th overall and not having to go to 3rd, not having to go to 4th, and not having to give up that first round next year. Yeah. I will stand and clap on stream tomorrow if they're able to do that. So you listening, Kwesi? Do that. All right.
If you're watching.
Yes. So that's that. Next up, we got the Giants. Are they going to sneakily take a quarterback? No, they won't. First receiver off the board, Rome Odunze.
Second.
You're right. Sometimes I forget about Marvin Harrison Jr. because he's just way ahead of like everyone else.
So there are some people that I've seen that put Rome Odunze number 1. I don't think they go that high, but Rome Odunze is a very good player. And I think your number 1 receiver is Darius Slayton right now for the Giants. And then they have Isaiah Hodgins, who'd be a good wide receiver 3, not a great wide receiver 2. So I think the Giants, they could maybe go tackle, but I think they take Rome Odunze at 6. And I'm just happy Rome Odunze did not fall to the Bears, because having to play Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze, Keenan Allen, and DJ Moore twice a year would not be fun. And I actually thought the Bears would draft Rome Odunze later until they traded for Keenan Allen. So I think the Giants stick, grab him, give Daniel Jones another guy to throw
to. Imagine this situation. The Bears take Caleb Williams number 1. I'm kind of thinking about this on the spot. The Bears take Caleb Williams 1. Marvin Harrison Jr. is around maybe the 5th or 6th pick. Imagine the Bears trade up because they probably have extra capital still. Mm-hmm. They trade up and get Marvin Harrison Jr. Think about that. Marvin Harrison Jr., Caleb Williams, DJ Moore, all the rest of their team. That would be crazy. That would be no bueno for a Vikings fan. No. But that would be quite the turn of events if that happened.
Yeah. I have seen some mock drafts that have them moving back up after pick 1 and moving up for Rome Odunze. I don't think they'd go as far to move up for Marvin Harrison, just because I feel like if he gets to the Cardinals and the Cardinals don't trade down, or even possibly the Chargers and they don't trade down, and I think one of those 2 teams will take him, or the Giants. So I just don't think any of those teams would be willing to trade down for Marvin or for the Bears.
So it's 7th overall. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head who it is. It's not the Falcons. They're 8. 7th is
the Jets. No. They're
Oh, it's
10th.
the Titans.
Titans. That's
I was
right.
trying to remember.
I keep forgetting the Titans had like a bad season.
Yeah, they're just kind of there.
Yeah, right now.
For the past like few years, I've been able to remember like the top 15 like picks and what team it is for the past like how many years. Like right before the draft, I'm always able to remember like this team is pick 8, this team is pick 9, this team is pick 10. I don't know why. This year I just haven't been able to do it quite as well outside of that top like 5 and
Yeah.
6. Then like for me 7 and 8 kind of get a little blurred in there. And yeah, after the Vikings, I kind of forget who's who. But yeah. So the Titans, who do they go with? They are going to go with the first offensive lineman off the board, the pride of Totino Grace, Joe Alt.
Joe Alt. I forgot he's from Minnesota. But yeah, this tackle class in general, there's I would not be shocked if we see 10 tackles go in the first round. I don't have that, but this tackle class is stacked. There's dudes all up and down the board. There's going to be good tackles, good starting tackles that go in round 3. So Joe Alt's the best out of them. He's a mammoth. I think he's 6'8", and he just like he moves. His footwork is insanely good. So Titans grabbed themselves a solid O tackle at a position of need, and I think he's the best player on the board right here. So there's not much else to that.
All right, I've got a hypothetical situation again here. The Vikings draft Michael Penix. They sell away Christian Darrisaw, and then they get a rookie tackle instead. Because you don't need Christian Darrisaw as your blindside guy anymore because you have Penix.
I don't know. Probably not, but
I don't know if it's a good idea, but
yeah, I mean,
possible at least.
Yeah, I mean, it is, grabbing Joe Alt. Now you do run the risk of him being a bust, which I don't think he will be, but you have Darrisaw who's already established, and Joe Alt, you don't know. So, and while all signs point to him being a stud, you just, you never know.
8th overall, we have the Falcons, who did not have their pick stripped because of the Kirk Cousins deal. So they go with Dallas Turner, first defensive player off the board coming out of Alabama.
So this here, I thought about maybe trying to go receiver, but they already have receivers.
They have a good offense.
O-line, they don't have a ton of problems at O-line. I thought about maybe grabbing Brock Bowers, but they have Kyle Pitts, who I think will actually get targets now. So yeah, I think Dallas Turner, he is a freak athlete. He's a little raw, but I think, you get him working with the Falcons. I think they can turn him into something. So he's the best edge in this draft, I think. And Falcons go grab him as the first defensive player off the board.
I was going to say I think that's a good pick there. He at that point, he might be the best player on the board just regardless. And then that also I'd say is a position of need for the Falcons because their offense is outside of the line. They're like their position group. What's the word I'm looking for? Skill position players. Yeah. Their skill positions are set. They've got a loaded offense.
Yeah. They're definitely, Kirk Cousins was definitely that kind of missing piece that team needed, and a new head coach.
Yeah. And they've got some good defensive pieces too, but Dallas Turner would be like the icing on the cake for the Falcons if they were able to make this work out.
Yeah.
So good one there. 9th overall, we have the Bears again. Do they go receiver?
Nope.
No, they go with a second tackle off the board.
So Tyrese Fuaga is an offensive tackle, but he can play guard. I don't think he played center at all, but he can play tackle and guard on both sides. He played all of them at Oregon State. The Bears don't necessarily have a gaping hole at offensive line. However, I think Tyrese Fuaga would kind of just take out the weakest link on that Bears offensive line. Their offensive line isn't great. They have some pieces, but the other thing is I'm pretty sure, the Bears had a bunch of offensive line injuries too. So obviously you don't pick at 9 for a depth guy, but you get Caleb Williams in. A quarterback's best friend is obviously his receivers and his offensive line. So get Tyrese Fuaga, plug him in whichever, guy he beats out in training camp, whoever it is. So that's the pick for the Bears. I think if Rome Odunze falls to 9, I think they'd be too intrigued to pass on him, but he doesn't. He goes at 6, which is a little high, but I think, it
makes sense. Everything makes sense. At 10th, we have the New York Jets, another tackle off the board.
So, we're where I'd expect the run on tackles and offensive line in general kind of start going. You're going to see a little more later, but Troy Fatanu coming out of Washington, that was the best offensive line in the country. He contributed a lot to that. I watched him in the national championship, kind of do really well against some Michigan defenders, and that's no easy task, obviously. So he was very good at Washington. The Jets get a rookie guy to come in, help protect Aaron Rodgers. That offensive line is by no means amazing. So again, guy you bring in, he's going to play tackle. He can guard Rodgers blindside, So that's why I think the Jets go there. I thought about maybe going Brock Bowers here again, but ultimately decided not to.
Mm-hmm. The Jets have had a history of drafting offensive linemen too, because they took Mekhi Becton. I think that was the top 10.
Yeah, Mekhi Becton they drafted.
Then they got Elijah Vera Tucker.
That's who it was, yeah.
Through the trade with the Vikings. I wanted the Vikings actually to take AVT, but then that was a legendary trade by Spielman to have Darius. No, not Darius.
Was it Darius?
It was Darius.
Because I wanted them to take.
They were dropped from like 10 to all the way, or not, wasn't 10. It was maybe, I think 12, 14, something, all the way back. I think it was 14 to 23, and Darisaw somehow dropped. That was legendary of a trade.
I wanted Darisaw like super bad too, because I'm like, we need a tackle, and I want Christian Darisaw. So when we traded down, I was like, there's no way. And then like it was a super stressful hour, and I just see like he wasn't picked here, he wasn't picked here, and all of a sudden he gets 23, and it's like, oh my gosh, he's still on the board, take him. And then
that was crazy.
I was very excited when they did.
Definitely not alien for the Jets to take a lineman here. 11th overall, formerly the Vikings, but now it's the Chargers because of the trade. Going with a wide receiver, Quentin Johnston didn't really work out last year. Malik Neighbors.
I still think Quentin Johnston can be a pretty good receiver. He's a really good yak guy, so he'll get a lot of yards after the catch. That's what he thrived on at TCU. He killed Michigan in that game. It's the one game I remember about TCU. I watched a little bit more TCU with him, but that's what I remember the most about him. But I don't think he's a wide receiver one by any means as of right now. And again, this receiver class is so stacked to the point where there's a lot of years where Malik Neighbors would be wide receiver one, but you have two studs above him, and the Chargers get another solid piece for Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, receiver definitely makes sense since Keenan Allen and Mike Williams both left free agency, or it was free agency, or
they
maybe one of the trade here,
but it would not shock me at all if Jim Harbaugh grabs a tackle, if like Fuaga or Fatanu end up falling, or even reaching like for a guy like J.C. Latham or something. I could definitely see the Chargers taking a tackle here, but ultimately that receiver room just got depleted after Keenan Allen and Mike Williams left. So
because they've got Joshua Palmer, Quentin Johnston, and Darius Davis, of whom I've never heard of. So
I've heard his name. I could not tell you much about him.
According to their depth chart on ESPN, those are their only 3 receivers. So we're gonna look it up and see if that's actually true. If they only have 3 receivers under contract, because that is no bueno. If it's true,
that sounds about right.
Though the Vikings have quite a few. I mean, a lot of them are just depth dudes, but still, I'm looking. They got it's only a couple. So that's that. Looking up next at 12, we've got, I believe, the Broncos. Is that right? Yeah, we do.
Yep, we got a little bit of a reach here, a little bit of a surprise. They go Bo Nix.
Bo Nix coming out of Oregon.
Obviously, I think Bo Nix is a late first-round guy, but you got to take into account the quarterback position. They constantly get overpicked, and it's going to happen every year. That's not necessarily because a player's bad. There are people that said Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen were overpicked. So, but that's just the state of the quarterbacks right now. And I think Bo Nix is the perfect guy for the Broncos. So I think they grab him at 12. They can't get up. And I think he's a guy who can put up with Sean Payton's nonsense or whatever. And, he's a guy who has all the experience in the world in college, got some great traits. And I think I would honestly take him over Penix if the Vikings can't trade up, which is a little bit of a hot take, but I think I've said that before on here. So, yeah.
I currently see Matt in like the waiting room. I don't know if he's actually there. We're gonna add him to screen. His picture isn't there, but I see him. Matt, are you there?
What's up, guys?
What's up? Where you
What's
at?
I'm getting ready for this general meeting, but I don't look good enough for camera, so
Oh, that's okay. We'll
I'm gonna
take that.
leave myself like this, and you guys can get the picture.
Awesome. So far we've had 3 quarterbacks in the first 3 picks. We have had Marvin Harrison Jr. off 4th. It's a no trade mock, except we've had one here. JJ McCarthy went number 5 to the Vikings, which we both said was a good idea. I know you're a JJ McCarthy hater, so you're not going to agree. And then
To be fair, I did
lots of
say
tackles.
I would rather trade up to 3 to grab Drake May, but I said I don't think the Patriots end up agreeing to a deal.
So lots of
Be
tackles.
interesting. What would sway the Patriots in that way to say, yeah, you can have it? Would it be a first round pick instead of a 2023 third?
I said that the Vikings should
2025,
make,
I can't read,
they should
my bad.
make them turn down 11, 23 and our 2025 first. I said that they should make them trade. They should call the Patriots, offer that, and make them say no.
Mm-hmm.
You think that's something the Vikings want to do, though, if they're just
I think
content
so.
with JJ McCarthy, or do they really feel Drake May is the guy?
I mean, I firmly believe Drake May is their guy, but I think they're fine with JJ McCarthy if the Patriots are firm on sticking and picking. But if you asked me, I would totally give up 3 first round picks for Drake May. Like, no brainer.
What about Matt? Would you do that?
Yeah, but I feel like the Patriots might want just a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, as we talked about with the Kirk Cousins deal, he asked for so much money, and Kwesi said, I'm sticking at my limit. I drew the line in the sand. Where does Kwesi draw the line in the sand here about how many first round picks I can give up? If it's more than the 2 this year and the 2025 first round pick, is that a line in the sand for Kwesi?
Yeah, I think for everyone, well, not more first round picks.
Are you willing to trade that much just to get Drake May?
I think you kind of have to if he's really your guy, like these reports are saying. Like, the Vikings don't have a long-term plan at quarterback. And if you give up the 3 first round picks and he works out, no one's going to care that we gave up.
Exactly. The only issue
doesn't work out, Kwesi's not even going to be here by the time for the next time for the more picks. So I think Kwesi would be fine giving them up.
All right. Mm-hmm. I'm glad I got this little bit of a recap, but we can keep going. I see the Broncos in this mock draft are going to take Bo Nix.
That was a reach.
It's a bit of a reach, but I mean,
I think Bo Nix is a perfect fit for the Broncos and Sean Payton.
For Sean Payton, yeah, I feel that.
So I pulled up the Broncos draft picks. They have their 12th pick, obviously. If they were to move up, they don't have a second round pick. And then they have the 76th pick in the 3rd. So the Vikings have significantly more capital to be able to move up if they try.
And that's why I'm not super worried about the Broncos jumping us. If there's anyone I'm worried about jumping us for JJ McCarthy,
it's the Giants.
Yeah. Because they can move up to 6 and say, hey, Cardinals, you only have to move down 2 spots.
Mm-hmm. Especially if it's that 5th pick, because Chargers aren't probably going to want to deal in division. So like that was a blockbuster move when the Vikings and Lions did that a couple of years back.
Insane.
That was unprecedented at the time. Still is unprecedented, honestly. So that was that. All right, we'll keep going. So Bo Nix at 12. We'll probably be seeing Penix at some point here. 13th, we've got the Raiders going Olu Fashanu. Tackle.
So people have said they're going to take Michael Penix here. I think they go Olu Fashanu. He's a great tackle out of Penn State, again, in a stacked tackle class. The Raiders don't have a good offensive tackle at all. I think they kind of roll with Aiden O'Connell this year, see what happens. If you're good, you're good. And if it blows up in your face, you'll have a high draft pick next year. So we'll see. I think I almost went Penix here. I'm going to be completely honest. I almost did it, but I went Olu instead.
Have we ever had a draft with 6 quarterbacks off in that few picks, like the first 15, we'll say? I feel like it's probably never happened.
Off the top of my head, I cannot remember, but I maybe once or twice. But I don't
Trevor
know.
Lawrence's draft class. I know they didn't have the whole 6, but they had what 1, 2, 3, 4. That's still a lot.
It's funny thinking about this year and then thinking back to a couple years ago, like when we just mentioned Kenny Pickett. He was the one quarterback in the first round. Kenny Pickett, just one. And now we're going to have 6, maybe even more tomorrow.
Probably,
So
I would not.
I think
no,
6 would
not
be a
6.
safe bet.
Most.
I think that, hey, a team could, at the end of the first round for that 5th-year option, I think it's a possibility that someone reaches for the 5th-year option.
Yep. All right, let's keep this thing moving.
No, we gotta
I gotta
chug.
off.
I was gonna say, good idea.
Joel, so do you. I mean, why don't you? Let's go.
Saints go Latu. They need
That's
an
a
edge.
nice pickup. Another solid pickup for that defense.
Mm-hmm. Latu, who has some injury issues, but outside of that, he's a great player.
All right, at 15, we got Brock Bowers finally off the board.
So when I was doing this mock draft, I kept thinking Brock Bowers, and I ultimately don't know if he's going to fall this far, but if he does, I think the Colts would be very happy to scoop him up.
I mean, absolutely, but I feel like he might go just a bit sooner.
Yeah, that's what
again. If this is what happens tomorrow, I mean, the Colts are gonna be standing up and clapping, and I know Anthony Richardson will be very happy about that as well.
But I could see him going to the Jets too. So
at 16, we have got
Graham Barton,
another lineman,
first interior offensive lineman. The Seahawks, that is a position of need for them. Graham Barton, I believe, is the best interior O lineman in this draft, and he's the first one to go. Now, Tyrese Fuaga can play pretty much anywhere, like I said, for the Bears, but he's the best, positional, the way they labeled him as an interior lineman. I think he's the best.
Sorry, I was getting a call from someone, but
I heard that.
I don't know if you could hear that. Matt would know. I was getting a call from Jaden Boovie. I don't know why he was calling me. So that's that. Otherwise, here's what I'll do. Do they still have Cody Barton? They would have 2 Bartons. Anyone know?
I have no idea.
Really doesn't matter. All right, next up we got the Jags. All right, you can talk about that. I'm gonna mute myself and call him back in case he needed something important.
Yeah. Oh, I spelled Jaguars wrong too, but that's not important.
Yeah, it's okay. My eyesight's not that great either.
I put an I in there somehow. I was kind of speeding to get all these in, but
Terry
and Arnold.
Well, that's some key corners, so I mean,
they don't have
some more depth there.
They do not have a corner, and I think there's some speculation that he could go possibly higher, but there's going to be. I got a couple corners going off here later in this draft. I do not believe the Jaguars have a significant name at corner. When I was looking at their roster,
because Shaquille Griffin's gone.
He's gone. Their depth chart,
frankly, and you're probably right on depth at corner because after him, I couldn't name you one.
They have Tyson Campbell and Ronald Darby, who aren't great. So that would definitely bolster their cornerback room. I guess you have Darnell Savage, who's technically a safety, but he's a slot guy. And
he can hybrid himself. They're going to probably need him in that area.
Yeah. All right. You back, Joel?
I am back.
All right, Joel. That was actually a very good.
It was someone asking me if someone needed to get in because I have keys. So I said I'll let him in after this. But I said
Bengals. They don't have a defensive tackle right now after letting their starting tackle go, whose name I can't remember, but he's a stud. And they draft Johnny Newton out of Illinois. Ultimately, if the Vikings cannot trade up and they stick at 11, this is who I would want them to pick. He has he's a great interior pass rusher. He plays a lot like John Randall did. So he's just an absolute stud. And when you're watching Illinois and on defense, you can notice him. And he's a very, very good defensive tackle and the best one in this class.
All right, now at the end of the teens.
Rams go Quinyon Mitchell here. Very, very good corner. He pretty much, at the Senior Bowl, he pretty much locked down everyone except Roman Wilson, who he was pretty even with, who was the best receiver consensusly at the Senior Bowl. But yeah, another team that just needs a corner, and I think Quinyon Mitchell is the second best one behind Terrion Arnold. So he could even be the best, honestly.
The way the Rams hit in the draft, though, to be completely honest, I mean, that could work. Do you have Nate Wiggins going off earlier?
No, I have him coming up here though.
I feel like the Rams would maybe go Nate Wiggins.
They could.
But again, they hit on a lot of their picks, so I wouldn't doubt them.
All right, next up at number 20, we got the Steelers.
There you go, JC Latham. So Steelers, another team that need offensive line. Who knows what they're going to do at quarterback. Honestly, I thought about until they traded for Justin Fields, I thought they might try to take Penix here if he fell.
Oh, it's also interesting they declined Justin Fields his player options. So let's see what happens after this year. But yeah, that's a good pick.
All right, I'm back now. Julia let him in, by the way, Matt. So
okay, that's cool.
I don't need to.
That's dope.
Be there. I know.
Groundbreaking stuff happening here.
Groundbreaking stuff.
At 21 Dolphins.
Zach Frazier. So this was a name I honestly didn't know very well. And then I did some research on him and I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's pretty good. So he fits to a lot of what the Dolphins like to do. He's great in the run game, great in that zone run game that the Dolphins like to run with their speedy running backs. So I think he's a perfect fit for this team. And this is a little high for him. There's a chance he falls out of the first round, but I think the Dolphins, he's a perfect fit.
I was just going to quickly say, how is he in pass protection?
Again, I haven't watched him a ton. I think he's fine. I think he'll do fine. But yeah, I haven't watched a ton of Zach Frazier. I know he is pretty good in the run game. And I know he's pretty good. Like he's decent in the pass game. He'll be able to hold his own.
Mm-hmm. All right, 22nd, we got Philly.
Nate Wiggins, your guy.
No, that's a good pick.
Eagles need a corner. I can't remember. I looked at like all the rosters as I was doing this because it says on the thing I use.
Yeah, fastest corner in the draft.
Is he?
Mel Kiper. Yeah, he ran one of the fastest 40.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Xavier Worthy, obviously, broke that record, but yeah.
So they have James Bradbury and Darius Slay.
Regarded him as potentially
Darius
one of the
Slay
best
is
corners.
old.
Very true. And James Bradbury isn't what he once was when he was a Giant.
So bring in a younger corner. He probably won't start right away. But
problem with a lot of Clemson corners are they're very handsy, so trying to adjust to the next level. Yeah. I mean, AJ Terrell had that issue too, but he seemed to overcome that with Atlanta. So it's just that transition period is going to be huge for him.
Mac Alexander came from Clemson too, right?
Mackenzie Alexander, yep.
That's what I thought. Kind of forget about him. We all forget about him sometimes.
I always forget he had 2 stints with the Vikings because we signed him in 2021. He was horrible.
Oh yeah.
And then like when we had him the first time, he was like a good slot corner, but we let him go, and then he came back for a season, and it's like, just get this dude off the field.
Rashad Breeland, that was another.
I was about to mention Rashad Breeland.
And that was a failed experiment.
I remember being excited.
That was the year we had, wasn't it Rashad Breeland, Cam Dantzler, and Mackenzie Alexander as our like week 1 starting corners?
It might have been.
I swear.
I don't know. I don't like dwelling on the past too much, especially when it wasn't successful.
I remember being excited for Rashad Breeland when they signed him. I was like, he's got experience. He's been decent. And then that was just by like week 5, it was, I get this dude off the field.
Yeah. All right.
Next up,
churn and burn.
Next up, we got the Chargers.
Amarius Mims. So like I said, they could take a tackle at 11 because they would get this pick from the Vikings too. They end up going to Amarius Mims, who is also like a mammoth of a dude. I can't remember his exact height, but he's big. He's tall and big, and I think there's some movement issues there. However, you get him in the building just like an absolute wall, just working, develop him, and he's a solid offensive tackle. I watched a lot of Georgia this year because they were really good. So he was always kind of a standout in a offense that loves running the ball, that's physical. So Amarius Mims here, going to the Chargers at 23. Again, I could see him flip-flopping, maybe they take one of those top tackles at 11 and take a guy like Brian Thomas at 23. But I ultimately went 11 receiver, 23 tackle. I think they have to take those two positions.
Next up, we got Jerry Jones and the Cowboys.
So this is an interesting pick for me. They have some other needs, right? You need to be able to line someone up across from Micah Parsons. However, I saw a great point that led me to this pick. The Cowboys after this, or it's either 2024 or 2025, they don't have a receiver under contract. Now, obviously CeeDee Lamb's about to get extended, but what is that saying about a guy like Michael Gallup? So I think they grab him, see what he can do, get him on the field rotating in. You know, you also have Kevontae Turpin and someone else who I'm completely forgetting about. But you bring in Brian Thomas. Huh? What was that?
Brandon Cooks?
Yep, Brandon Cooks. So he's getting older. So bring in Brian Thomas to be opposite CeeDee Lamb as your future receiver. So this is something that's what I think the Cowboys will do here. Because initially I wanted to go someone else, like an edge or something. But I saw that and I'm like, well, I think they could maybe go receiver.
All right, 25, we got the Green Bay Packers.
Cooper
DeJean.
Is there a more Packers pick than this? Like,
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think, Cooper DeJean, he's an outside corner, but I think he's going to move into the slot into the NFL, and I think he's going to be a great slot corner, especially when, his man coverage skills aren't great, but when you're in the slot, you have to be able to do all these things. You have to be able to stop the run. You have to be able to cover. You have to be able to blitz every once in a while. So Cooper DeJean's kind of that do-it-all guy. That's what he was at Iowa. He's going to be a great kick returner, great punt returner for them too, so he'll contribute on special teams. So he's just kind of like an all-around dude, and while he isn't Terrion Arnold or Quinyon Mitchell, he's definitely a solid pick in a league that definitely needs to be a good defense. You need a good slot corner, and that's the Packers get that in Cooper DeJean.
All right, we got Tampa at 26. Jared
This is another dude that falls.
Staying in Florida.
Jared Verse from Florida State. There's some speculation he could go as high as the top 15. But the way this draft just kind of ended up working out, Jared Verse falls, and I think Bucs fans would be ecstatic to get him. They're looking to replace Shaq Barrett, and I think maybe another edge rusher. I don't know. This free agency, there's been too many moves for me to remember all of them, but I know they're replacing Shaq Barrett, and I think this is a perfect guy for Tampa, for a blitz-heavy defense, a guy who can rush the passer. That's what you need.
Next up, we got the Cardinals yet again.
Byron Murphy. So, again, they need a defensive tackle. He's a stout run defender. At Texas, he's got a little bit of pass rush in him, not as much as Johnny Newton, but another just stud, huge mammoth of a man to put on that inside.
You never know. Like we talked about earlier, Sam, he could take number 7, and then the Byron Murphy Arizona Cardinals jerseys would
the Murphy jersey
again. It could happen. Well, we'll see. Next up, we got 28. We got the Buffalo Bills.
A.D. Mitchell. So they just traded Diggs. They desperate. Do they have Gabe Davis? Did they get rid of Gabe Davis?
Gabe Davis is a Jag now.
Yeah.
He's a Jag now.
They desperately need a receiver. I thought about going Keon Coleman here. I thought about maybe going Xavier Worthy. But I think A.D. Mitchell right now, as this board falls, maybe Brian Thomas falls to them. I think Bills fans would love that. I have seen some stuff about the Bills possibly moving up to grab a guy like Malik Neighbors or Roma Dunze. But I think with this being no trades, they stick and pick with A.D. Mitchell, and I'm just glad the Chiefs don't get him, because if the Chiefs get A.D. Mitchell, they might just go back to back to back.
Do the Bills have anyone above Khalil Shakir?
I don't think so. I think he's literally their wide receiver 1.
So pretty much they're like the New England Patriots. Wow, that AFC East, outside of the Dolphins receiving core, it's just oof. Some receivers out there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But
stay away.
I really think the Bills will still compete. But I think the Jets with Aaron Rodgers, who knows what's going to happen there? They could come out strong and win the division and make a push.
Mm-hmm. Next up, at 29, we've got the Detroit Lions. Dan Campbell biting kneecaps. They've been handing out money left and right today. And Who else is going to get the bag? Chop Robinson.
It'll be a very good pickup.
Chop Robinson, edge, Penn State. So yeah, guy to line up across from Aiden Hutchinson. I honestly thought about maybe going Penix here. If he falls this far, they might.
They drafted Hooker last
They had Hooker
draft.
last year. He didn't do anything, but they have Hendon Hooker.
I got some breaking news here.
Let's hear it.
I want to just reveal it.
Trey Hendrickson has requested a trade from Cincinnati, per Adam Schefter. So,
oh no, the source was Sam O. You reported that.
Per me, I got the
For
call.
him on Soul of the Skull.
I got the call from his agent right now.
Trey Hendrickson has requested a trade.
Adam Schefter was like, "Hey, yo,
So
Samo, I need that source."
Source. He retweeted my tweet. Oh. But yeah, I don't know. That could alter some things. I don't think the Vikings necessarily. Well, maybe they could. Probably not. They don't really have draft. If they move up, they're not going to have draft capital. So, but yeah, just some little nugget. Not any crazy like trade up news or anything, or a Jefferson extension. Although that would be fun.
I would say Chop Robinson has got to be a top. Honestly, could be a top 5 name in NFL history. It's
and he's a
there.
stud. I mean,
It's
he could go way higher. I watched this dude against. He literally made it so Michigan could not throw the ball because on the first drive of the Michigan Penn State game, he beat our starting tackle 3 times in a row. It was insane. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then we ran the ball the rest of the game to pretty much eliminate Chop Robinson. This guy is a stud. And I think the Vikings, he's going to cause fits for any team that he has to go up against.
Mm-hmm. All right, 30th overall, we've got the Baltimore Ravens, who breaking news just extended Rashad Bateman. We talked about that. I think that might have been off mic.
League-altering stuff.
Groundbreaking news was that today from Schefter. Or was it from Sam O? I don't know.
No, it's President draft a running back.
More breaking news coming out of Cincinnati. T. Higgins has also requested a trade.
Well, we already knew that.
We already knew that.
Oh, really?
For a while.
I thought he did a while.
Oh,
He
yeah, that's
requested
right.
A trade a while back. He
Why is
requested
Schefter
another
tweeting
trade.
out that like it's breaking news then? What?
He
Coming
probably
up
like
next,
said it as
Joe
a
Burrow
subtweet
requesting
that
a
was
trade.
like,
Joe Burrow.
Jamar Chase.
Chase.
Requesting a trade.
it's probably
Their
a
whole
subtweet that
team
when
wants
That's right.
Trey
I forgot
Hendrickson
he's
now
requested.
joins
So that's
T.
not breaking news.
Higgins.
Never mind.
You broke.
Anyway, Ravens grabbing a tackle. They need a tackle. Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma. Basically the best tackle available right now. So yeah. 31.
We got the Niners.
Kool-Aid McKinstry.
Cool.
That's
a top 5 name.
That's also a top name. We got 2 of the top names in NFL history. Could
Corner
be
is
first round
really.
picks this year.
It's really one of the only needs this team has. And I looked at their depth chart today, and I just realized that their linebackers are Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, and Devondre Campbell, which is insane. And again, the 49ers, like, they still have that rookie deal on Brock Purdy, so they can go out and sign a bunch of guys because they don't have the big quarterback money, which is such a big advantage, and it allows them. But yeah, they have a little bit of a hole at corner, so I think they grab Kool-Aid McKinstry from Alabama.
All right, to close it out, we've got the KC Chiefs. Who are they going to take?
Xavier Worthy.
Keon.
Receiver.
I think Worthy's good, but I do not think he is a top. I don't think he's better than Keon Coleman. Now, Keon Coleman has created some controversy. He's kind of a hit or miss guy, but you get Mahomes thrown to him. I'm just glad that A.D. Mitchell didn't fall this far, because if the Chiefs get A.D. Mitchell again, it's going to be over for the league. So, but yeah, get Mahomes thrown to Keon Coleman. That's really also one of the Chiefs' only needs, as we've seen this year. We thought they had all these needs, but they were the first team I've ever seen to get worse and win a Super Bowl. So they're going to grab Keon Coleman. Rashee Rice is obviously unknown, whatever happens with that. And then you have Travis Kelce, obviously, who's getting older. So they grab Keon Coleman.
Kadarius Toney. You have so many.
Sky
Moore. Yeah.
So not any
Justin Watson.
Not any good receivers necessarily. So they grab Keon Coleman. But yeah, that's my mock draft.
Good job. All right, let's give it up for Samo. Coming on, unleashing his mock draft live here on Soul of the Skull. No, that's awesome. And if I was a Viking fan, I love what you did. That trade into having those first 4 picks would play out flawlessly. If they played out like that, that would be awesome. JJ McCarthy not giving up next year's first. I will stand up on stream, clap, maybe cry. Probably not cry, but hey, you never know. Tomorrow,
I might shed a tear or two. Not necessarily because it's my dream scenario, but just because like for me getting to watch, I was talking to someone today. Like I've watched this guy for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have not watched a quarterback more outside of Kirk Cousins than JJ McCarthy. So seeing him come to my favorite team in all sports would just be awesome. And
I mean, you could watch him for 10 more.
Yes, exactly.
If it worked out.
I would root for him. I'd probably be his biggest defender. And honestly, my biggest problem would be that he's going to create controversy from the second he's drafted because there are people that don't want him at all. And I understand it.
Matt.
But yeah. Anyway, yeah, I got to get off here, guys. So
all right,
yeah, same
fun,
here.
but
we're about to end it anyway here.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up quick.
So we'll wrap it up here. Thanks for watching, everybody. We're going to be live tomorrow, hopefully around 6:30 Central Time. We're going to have people join. I don't know if Matt's going to be on. Hopefully he'll be on. We'll see.
I'll try to get on for the pick with a special guest maybe with me.
Okay.
Ooh.
I'll be on it.
I'll be on
Don't be
too.
too excited, Samo. He doesn't really know much about sports.
Okay. You'll be on. Big Lou, I think, is going to be on. It's been a bit
Big
since he's been
Lou
on.
return. Sam
locked
Z
down
is
in the
in the
military.
Big Lou will be
Been
tomorrow.
locked down in the military.
And Sam Z, we never really know if he's on or not. So he
But
could
he sounds
be,
like
might
he'll
not
be
I don't know.
here.
Either way, we're excited for tomorrow, and we're going to be excited to stream. So make sure you guys tune in tomorrow night. It is going to be probably my favorite event of the year. So
Oh my gosh.
be there.
I'm like
it's going to be
nervous.
awesome.
I have not been
I'm
this
excited
like
talking about it.
I have not been this excited, nervous since like a 2017 playoffs. So this is it's a very big day. And
be there for our potentially franchise altering day. We're going to be there. It's going to be great. Make sure you guys watch along with us and comment down below anything live. We'll have a discussion. Sam Z might have a mock draft tomorrow too. We'll just have to see. So that does it. Thanks for watching. Have a good night. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace out. As always, SKOL Vikings.
SKOL Vikings.
Take care. We'll see you all tomorrow.